So, what if I told you that the secret to sustainable weight management isn't actually about emptying your plate,
Right.
but like actually forcing your digestive system to work overtime? Because, usually when people talk about altering their diet, there's this heavy expectation of subtraction.
Oh, totally. The restriction mindset.
Exactly. You look at your plate, and the goal is just to make everything on it, smaller. You banish this, you restrict that, and success is basically measured by how much empty space is left in front of you. And honestly,
So
it's miserable.
it really is miserable. And um, from a biochemical standpoint, it is incredibly counterproductive. We're
Yeah.
sort of culturally conditioned to believe that the path to health is paved with like an empty, growling stomach.
Yeah.
But when you look at how human metabolism actually operates, treating your body like a simple math equation of calories in minus calories out, well, it's a deeply flawed strategy.
Right, because you're ignoring the chemical reality.
Exactly. You're ignoring how different foods dictate actual cellular behavior.
Which brings us to our mission for today's deep dive. We are unpacking this really fascinating source document on essential nutrients for sustainable weight management. And, the reason I wanted to tear into this material for you listening today is that it completely flips the script.
It really does.
It takes that old diet culture preachiness of starvation and just throws it out the window.
Hmm.
Instead, we're looking at a metabolic landscape where food is used as a strategic tool to alter your biochemistry, keep you completely full, and actually optimize how you burn energy.
Yeah, because the author doesn't just hand you like a random grocery list.
Yeah.
They've actually categorized specific foods by their biochemical mechanisms of action.
Which is wild.
Right. It's about understanding the architecture of satiety,
Yeah.
the structural maintenance of your metabolic engine and the psychological sustainability required for long-term health. I mean, it's not about shrinking yourself. It's about upgrading how your body processes fuel.
Okay, so let's get right into those mechanisms, starting with what I'd call biological space taking.
I like that.
Because if you're trying to manage weight without feeling like you're starving, you have to hack the physical sensation of hunger. The material starts by highlighting high fiber and high water fruits, specifically grouping things like guava, pears, and watermelon.
Mm-hmm.
Now, guava is flagged as an absolute powerhouse with roughly 9 grams of fiber per serving. When I read that, I couldn't help but picture guava as this ultimate biological sponge.
Son, yes.
It hits your stomach, expands, and basically tells your brain the tank is full. Is it really that mechanical?
It is remarkably mechanical, yeah.
Yeah.
But the signaling is chemical. So dietary fiber, especially the immense soluble fiber density found in guava and pears, physically absorbs water.
Okay.
And it forms this viscous gel in your gastrointestinal tract.
Okay.
And this does two things. First, it significantly delays gastric emptying,
Meaning it traps the food?
literally trapping
I
the
guess
food in
so.
your stomach longer, yes. And second, that physical stretching of the stomach wall, it triggers the vagus nerve, which sends a direct signal to your brain to suppress ghrelin.
And ghrelin is the hunger hormone.
Correct. Ghrelin is what makes your stomach growl and makes your brain obsess over food. So by deploying a high-fiber fruit, you are mechanically neutralizing that hormonal cascade.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But the inclusion of watermelon here introduces a totally different yet equally brilliant biological hack because watermelon is over 90% water.
Right, which sounds incredibly refreshing, but how does that actively manage weight? Are we just tricking the stomach with water?
We're actually tricking the brain.
Wait, really?
Yeah. It's a massive, often overlooked quirk of human neurobiology. The hypothalamus, the region of your brain that regulates both hunger and thirst, it frequently confuses the two signals.
No way.
Yes, people constantly mistake mild dehydration for a craving for food.
I do that all the time.
Right, we all do. So by consuming a high-volume, high-water food like watermelon, you are preemptively satisfying a hydration deficit that your brain was misinterpreting as hunger. And all for a completely negligible caloric cost.
That is a massive aha moment for me. So half the time I think I need a snack. My hypothalamus is just bad at translating its own signals. And watermelon effectively recalibrates it.
Exactly.
That's amazing. But the material also groups a second category of fruits here, berries, kiwi, and papaya. And it's not just for space taking, but for what seems like active biochemical labor.
Yes, functional labor.
Let's talk about papaya because it highlights an enzyme called papain. Now, I've always thought of fruit as just, sitting in my stomach waiting to be digested. Are you telling me papaya digests my food for me?
In a way, yeah. Yes, it does. Papain is a protease,
Which means?
which means it acts as biological chemical scissors. When you eat papaya, that enzyme actively helps cleave the complex peptide bonds of proteins you've consumed,
Wow.
breaking them down into smaller, highly absorbable amino acids. You aren't just dropping food into a passive vat of stomach acid. You are literally sending in active enzymatic workers to optimize how your body extracts nutrients from everything else on your plate.
That is wild. It's functional eating. So how does kiwi fit into this functional labor? Because the research specifically points out kiwi's role in reducing cholesterol, which, I mean, feels like a big leap from just losing weight.
It does, but it connects back to that soluble fiber we discussed earlier, just in a totally different application.
Okay, how so?
So in your digestive tract, the specific fiber matrix in kiwi binds to bile acids, and bile is made by your liver, and it's rich in cholesterol. When the fiber binds to it, your body can't reabsorb it.
So it just leaves the body.
Right, it gets excreted. But here's the magic. To make more bile, your liver is literally forced to pull circulating cholesterol out of your bloodstream.
Wait, so eating the kiwi essentially forces your body to vacuum its own bloodstream?
Precisely. It vacuums the cholesterol right out. And this is why we really have to view weight management as a full-body health project, not just an aesthetic one.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
And this functional labor is also why berries, strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, why they're emphasized. They are dense in highly specific antioxidants.
Okay, I actually want to push back on antioxidants a bit because I feel like it's such a marketing buzzword.
Oh, sure.
Like, every single juice box claims to have antioxidants. The text says they are crucial for skin regeneration and brain health during weight management. But why is weight management damaging my skin or brain in the first place?
That's a great question. It's because altering your body composition is an inherently stressful physiological event.
Oh, I see.
When you are operating at an energy deficit and your body starts mobilizing stored fat for fuel, a byproduct of that oxidation process is the creation of free radicals.
And those are bad.
They're unstable molecules that bounce around, causing cellular damage, which literally accelerates skin aging and cognitive fog.
Yikes.
Yeah, but the massive influx of antioxidants from berries donates electrons to those free radicals, neutralizing them. You're actively providing your cells with a biological shield during a period of metabolic stress.
Okay, so the fruits are either acting as biological sponges to shut down the hunger hormones, or they're active workers. Enzymes cutting up proteins, fiber vacuuming cholesterol, and antioxidants shielding our cells.
Exactly.
That builds an incredible foundation. But obviously you can't build a high-performance engine out of, sponges and fruit juice.
Something like that.
To achieve sustainable weight management, the body needs serious structural drive. Which brings us to the second major pillar in this biological blueprint, building the metabolic engine with quality protein.
And if we are going to use the engine metaphor, protein is both the raw material used to build the engine block itself and a specific type of fuel that makes the engine run hotter just by being there.
Right.
The biological framework here prioritizes lean sources like boiled eggs and skinless chicken breast.
Okay, let's stop at the humble boiled egg. Because again, this sounds like standard diet advice, right? Eat an egg, you'll feel full.
Right, the classic advice.
Yeah. But the material claims that the protein in eggs and chicken actually optimizes metabolism. I really want to know the mechanism here. I mean, is a boiled egg genuinely burning calories, or is it just sitting heavily in my stomach so I don't want to eat a donut?
No, it is actively burning calories.
Oh.
Through a mechanism known as the thermic effect of food, or TE.
TEE.
Every time you eat, your body expends energy to digest, absorb, and dispose of those nutrients. But the energetic cost is not equal. Digesting fats and carbohydrates might only burn, say, 5 to 10% of their caloric value.
Okay.
Protein, however, has incredibly dense, complex molecular structures, those peptide bonds we mentioned with the papaya.
Right.
Your body essentially has to break a sweat to dismantle them. Up to 30% of the calories you ingest from protein are burned off purely through the metabolic labor of digesting it.
Right, 30%.
Yep. So when you eat that boiled egg, you are temporarily forcing your baseline metabolic rate to surge.
Oh, wow.
Furthermore, the complete amino acid profile of the egg acts as a potent signaling molecule to your brain that crucial structural materials have been acquired, which shuts down appetite pathways far more aggressively than carbohydrates do.
So you are basically making your digestive tract do a workout.
Exactly.
It makes complete sense. And then the framework highlights skinless chicken breast specifically for its lower fat content in relation to building muscle mass. I assume this is where we actually upgrade the engine itself.
You hit the nail on the head. Skeletal muscle is metabolically expensive tissue.
Meaning It takes energy to maintain.
Yes, a pound of muscle requires significantly more calories just to stay alive at rest compared to a pound of fat. By providing your body with the high-quality building blocks from chicken breast, you stimulate muscle protein synthesis. You are permanently upgrading the idle speed of your metabolic engine.
Upgrading the idle speed. I love that framing.
Yeah, you will literally burn more calories while you are sitting on the couch doing absolutely nothing.
Sign me up for that. But the framework doesn't stop at eggs and chicken. To keep that engine running smoothly and free of rust, it brings up fish. Salmon, mackerel, cod. And it zeroes in heavily on their omega-3 fatty acids to boost immunity and actively reduce inflammation.
Yes.
Now I get that inflammation is bad, obviously. But how does an inflamed body actually stop me from managing my weight?
This is perhaps one of the most critical yet misunderstood mechanisms in human biology. Systemic inflammation acts like profound interference in your metabolic signaling.
Okay, interference how?
Well, when your body's in a state of chronic low-grade inflammation, your fat cells, your adipose tissue, actually begin to act like an endocrine organ.
Wait, fat acts like an organ?
Yes, it actively secretes inflammatory cytokines, and in this stress state, your body triggers a survival mechanism. It becomes highly resistant to lipolysis, which is the breakdown of fat.
So it holds on to it.
It essentially locks the vault. Furthermore, cellular inflammation blunts your insulin sensitivity. The omega-3 fatty acids in salmon and mackerel are profound anti-inflammatory agents. They slip into the cell membranes and actively suppress those inflammatory cytokines.
They unlock the vault.
They unlock the vault. By cooling down the systemic stress, you allow your metabolic engine to operate without chemical interference.
So you could be doing everything right, eating the fiber, eating the protein, but if your system is rusted out with inflammation, the body just refuses to let go of the fat because it thinks it's under attack.
Precisely.
That is a completely different way to look at a piece of salmon.
Okay, so we have the fruit acting as the sponge and the biochemical workers. We have the protein acting as the engine block, and the omega-3s clearing out the rust. But an engine still needs fuel to run.
It does. And the type of fuel dictates the performance and longevity of the engine. Which brings us to the third category, the slow burn fuel of greens and complex carbohydrates. Right. The document focuses on leafy greens first. Spinach, broccoli, and water spinach, which is also known as kangkung. It notes they are incredibly dense in essential minerals. But there's a very specific call-out for spinach here regarding its ability to lower blood pressure. Again, I'm trying to connect the dots here. How does my blood pressure dictate my waistline?
It goes right back to systemic stress, just like the inflammation. High blood pressure puts immense mechanical strain on your vascular system, which elevates cortisol, your primary stress hormone.
And cortisol is notorious for weight gain.
Exactly. Elevated cortisol aggressively promotes the storage of visceral fat, particularly around your midsection, as an evolutionary defense mechanism. The minerals in spinach, particularly potassium and magnesium, act as natural vasodilators.
Meaning they open things up.
Right. They physically relax the walls of your blood vessels. By lowering that vascular tension, you lower the systemic stress response, dropping cortisol, and basically signaling to your body that it is safe to release stored energy.
It all comes back to telling the body it's safe. Now, let's talk about the heavy hitters for energy in this section. Complex carbohydrates, like oatmeal and brown rice. The framework explains these are digested slowly, ensuring a stable release of energy so you don't get hungry quickly.
Yes.
The best way I can picture this is like a campfire. Eating oatmeal is like throwing a thick, dense, slow-burning oak log onto the fire. It burns for hours, keeping the heat steady.
Oh, I love that.
But if you eat highly refined, simple sugars, it's like throwing a single sheet of newspaper onto the flames.
A flash in the pan?
Exactly. It flares up massive and bright for 10 seconds, and then it's gone, leaving you freezing in the dark.
That analogy perfectly illustrates the biomechanics of insulin. When you throw that newspaper on the fire, when you eat refined sugars, you cause an immediate violent spike in blood glucose. Your pancreas panics and secretes a massive surge of insulin to clear that glucose out of the blood.
Right.
But insulin is a storage hormone. When insulin is high, fat burning is chemically locked. Furthermore, that massive insulin dump clears the blood sugar too effectively,
Leading to a crash.
reactive hypoglycemia.
And that crash is what makes you desperately rummage through the pantry 2 hours later looking for chips.
Exactly. The complex fibrous matrix in a food like oatmeal or brown rice forces your digestive system to meticulously dismantle it layer by layer. It dictates a slow, drip-feed release of glucose into your bloodstream. You get a gentle insulin response.
So no panic from the pancreas.
No panic. Your fat-burning pathways remain accessible, and you experience hours of stable cognitive and physical energy without the crash.
That's huge. And right alongside those complex carbs, the research groups legumes, mung beans, soybeans, tofu, and tempeh.
Legumes. They are biological marvels. Unsung heroes, really.
How so?
They are the ultimate hybrid food. If you think about what we've discussed so far, legumes basically double dip into the best of both worlds.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Right. They provide that incredibly dense, slow-burn fibrous matrix that prevents the insulin spike.
Yeah.
But they're also loaded with the complex amino acids that trigger the thermic effect of food and build muscle.
Yeah.
They aggressively hit both the physical stretch receptors in your stomach and the hormonal satiety pathways in your brain simultaneously.
Double dipping. I love that. Okay, so I'm listening to all this, and the biochemistry is undeniable. Berries, salmon, oatmeal, tempeh. It is a masterclass in metabolic optimization.
It really is.
But let's step out of the textbook and into the real world for a second.
Okay.
What happens on a Tuesday night when I just really want a snack? What happens when my brain wants something sweet? Because, I am not a robot.
None of us are.
If a framework tells me I can never have a treat again, I'm eventually going to snap and eat an entire cake. Psychological deprivation is the reason diets fail.
And any nutritional scientist worth their salt knows that.
Yeah.
Which is exactly why the final section of this framework is the most vital for actual human beings. It anchors entirely on the word sustainable.
Right.
If a dietary pattern requires you to endure constant psychological friction and misery, it is a biological and psychological failure waiting to happen.
Thank goodness, because the psychological lifelines they provide here under smart snacking actually give me so much hope. First up, they list plain yogurt, specifically calling it out as a low-sugar choice that promotes gut health. But why are we bringing the gut into weight management?
Because your gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria living in your digestive tract, they literally dictate how many calories you extract from your food.
Wait, really?
Yes. The ratio of certain bacterial strains in your gut influences how you harvest energy and how your hunger hormones operate. Plain yogurt is dense in active probiotics that selectively cultivate a healthy bacterial balance.
Wow.
You are maintaining the microscopic workforce that regulates your metabolism while simultaneously getting a slow digesting protein hit to bridge the gap between meals.
Okay, so that makes the yogurt feel like maintenance for the engine.
Exactly.
And then we get to the absolute greatest gift in this entire document, dark chocolate.
I knew you'd like this one.
It explicitly states that dark chocolate, thanks to its antioxidants, is a safe way to satisfy a sweet tooth without ruining the program. I am so relieved to see this officially on the menu. But how is chocolate functioning here?
It fundamentally changes how we need to view a treat. We have this toxic societal habit of labeling enjoyable foods as cheats, which instantly assigns guilt.
Totally.
But dark chocolate is a highly functional compound. The specific antioxidants in it, called flavonoids, trigger the nitric oxide pathway in your body, which massively improves blood flow and vascular health.
Oh, nice.
So when you eat a piece of high-quality dark chocolate, you are absolutely satisfying that very real psychological craving for a rich reward, preventing the deprivation binge cycle. But you are also strategically deploying a compound that has systemic physiological benefits.
Strategically deploying a treat. I am absolutely keeping that phrase in my back pocket. I'm not cheating. I am deploying flavonoids.
There you go.
Finally, to round out the smart snacking, the framework highlights green tea. It mentions studies showing it actively helps the body's fat-burning processes. Now, is this a magic bullet or is there real science here?
There is very real, very specific science, but it's a gentle tailwind, not a magic bullet. Green tea contains a potent compound called EGCG.
EGCG, okay.
What EGCG does is inhibit an enzyme that normally breaks down the hormone norepinephrine. And norepinephrine signals your fat cells to break down fat.
So it stops the breakdown signal.
Exactly. So by drinking green tea, you are essentially keeping the burn fat switch flipped to the on position just a little bit longer. It provides a consistent, gentle metabolic boost to everything else you're doing.
It is fascinating. You know, when you lay all the mechanisms out like this, the entire landscape of eating completely shifts. Sustainable weight management is clearly not about subtraction or starvation.
Not at all.
It is a highly strategic symphony. You deploy the biological sponges of guava and pear to physically hack your hunger signals.
Okay.
You send in the chemical scissors of papaya. You build an upgraded metabolic engine with the thermally expensive proteins of eggs and chicken while cooling the systemic rust with omega-3s,
Perfect summary.
and you fuel that engine with the slow-burning logs of oats and spinach so your insulin doesn't spike. And crucially, you maintain your psychological sanity by strategically deploying dark chocolate and yogurt. It's a complete interconnected biological ecosystem.
It is a profound evolution from a mindset of restriction to a mindset of precise functional nourishment. You are operating the machinery of your body the way it was designed to be run.
Yeah.
But if we reflect on all the specific mechanisms we've unpacked today, it leaves us with an incredibly compelling thought for you to ponder.
Oh, what's that?
Well, we saw how deeply specific these everyday items are. Papaya enzymes acting as protein scissors, kiwi fiber pulling cholesterol out of the blood, green tea compounds selectively extending fat-burning signals. It forces you to look at the produce aisle completely differently and wonder, what other hidden, highly targeted biological medicines are waiting quietly on those shelves, acting far more like a specialized pharmacy than just simple food.
That is a phenomenal perspective. The grocery store is a pharmacy if you know the chemical mechanisms of what you're putting in your cart.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this conversation helps you approach your next meal not as a frustrating exercise and restriction, but as a strategic mission to upgrade your biochemistry. Remember, true health isn't about the empty space left on your plate. It's about the profound biological labor of what you choose to put on it. Until next time.